Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. It's been a very long minute, you guys. I've been life have been life, and that's the point. I like this steel ruler because of how flexible it is, and yes, I think that's the only new item we added to the channel. I think these two, yes, these needles as well. So anyways, on this video we launch this steel ruler in the name of God the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Let's get right into the tutorial. You guys, on this video we'll be making a boo dress. It has a cord lace placement on it. The shoulders of the dress is joined together with the sleeve, so we are not cutting it separately. We are cutting the shoulder and of the dress and everything together with the dress. So for this boo dress, we'll be using this fabric. This is an Ankara fabric, high target prints, 100% cotton, and then we'll be using this cord lace. They call it cord lace in the market. This is what it looks like. So we'll be combining it to give the design that we have in front of it. So let's get right into the tutorial. The first thing you are going to do is to fold your fabric. I'm working with a full length of 58, okay, and this fabric this way that it is from this end to this end is 45, so it's not up to 58. So we are going to be folding it the other way around. The borders are going to be by the sides like this, okay. So the next thing I'm going to do is to fold the borders together like this, okay. Let me straighten this out. After measuring out our full length, which is 60, I'm going to go ahead and start placing my measurements. I'll be placing my shoulder measurement divided by 2, which is 8. I'll mark it here. Then I'm going to add my sleeve. I don't want the sleeve to be too low. I'm going to mark my sleeve at point 12, okay? And this 2 inches that is remaining here, I'll be using it as my hemming allowance. The next thing I'm going to do is that from this shoulder, I'm going to come down 12 inches, okay? I'm going to join this 12 inches point. So the next thing I'm going to mark is my hip point, and my hip, I'll be placing it at 24 inches. On this 24 inches, I'm going to be placing my hip round measurement divided by 4. So my hip round measurement is 44. 44 divided by 4 is 11 inches. I'm going to place 11 inches at this point. I'll be adding about 2 inches for my ease allowance because I don't want it to be fitted, and then I'll be adding 1 inch for my seam allowance. I have 14.5 inches. I'm going to take this 14.5 inches and I'll bring it down to this point. On the full length, I'll be marking 14.5 inches as well, okay. And now I'm going to join these points together with a straight line. Now the next thing I'm going to do is that I'm going to measure my knee point. My knee point for this particular dress is going to be at 38, okay. So at this point 38 that I just marked, I'm going to come out by 2 inches, okay, and I'm going to also come out on the full length by another 2 inches, and I'll be joining these points together. So I'm going to mark out these 2 inches, which is my hemming allowance, and then from this point I'm going to use my curve rule to make a curve to come and join this end here. I'm going to measure from my shoulder point to my half length, and my half length is 17. Okay, from this half length I'm going to come down by 2 inches, and 2 inches is 19. I'm going to mark this point, this 19 inches point, and I'll be notching this point as where my pocket is going to start. I'm going to measure 8 inches down, and I'll be marking this point. Okay, this is the 2 points where my pockets are going to start. And for my neck, I'm just going to go in. I'm going to go in with about 3.5 inches. I'll come down with 1 inch, and I'll make a curve. Then again, I'll also come down with 3 inches, and I'll make another curve. And so far, this is what our pattern is looking like. Okay, this is what is looking like all the way to the hems. I'll be folding in the 2 inches here, and this is what our ruling is looking like. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this out. So for this neckline, I'll first cut out 1. Okay, so this is going to be the back point. You can decide to leave this point open, and you can also decide to leave this point closed, and you can also decide to cut it slightly open the way I'm doing it now. It does not really matter. So I'm cutting it open because of the design we'll be adding to the sleeve. Okay, so I don't want the design to go all the way to the back. That's why I'm cutting it open, so it can stop at the shoulder point. If not, I would have just left it that way. So the next thing I'll be cutting is this point. After cutting it out, this is what it's looking like. I made a mistake here, guys. I'm not supposed to cut out that piece that I did cut out from here, because this is supposed to serve as the hemming allowance. So now I'm going to be hemming it with about 1/2 inch. Yes, I'll just hem it with 1/2 inch because I already cut out the hemming allowance that I'm supposed to leave. I totally forgot. Like, you guys, I was not supposed to cut this out. I'm just supposed to leave it there. Okay, so this is what we have. I'm going to take out this piece that is in the middle. I'm going to take it out and fold this front piece back. This is what we have for our front piece. I'm just going to cut this neckline like so, and that is all for the front piece. I'll fold these pieces into 2, and I'll place it right under this one. This thing, I'm trying to cut out my facing for the front piece, and I'll do the same thing for the back piece. So I'm just going to trace the neckline, the shoulder, and this is what I have for the facing of this front piece, and I'll do the same thing for the back piece. Okay, now that I'm done cutting out these pieces, the next pieces that we need to cut out before we start sewing is our pocket pieces. And I'll be using these pieces to cut out for our pocket. What I'm going to do is just to fold it into 4. Okay, as I folded it into 4, from this folded part I have 8 inches here, and I also have 8 inches here, and these pieces should be at least 11 inches long, and what we have here is more than 11 inches, so that's fine. I'm just going to cut it. So now we have our pocket pieces. The next thing I'm going to do is to get my lace, and I'll be placing it exactly how I want it to be. From the inspo picture, the lace was placed to be on a V line. You can place your own to be square. You can anyhow you want yours to be. To place my cord lace, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to fold it into 2 like this. Okay, and I'm going to place it this way here, so that it's going to accommodate both this end and the other end. Okay, this 2.5 inches and this 5 inches, that's where it's going to start. So I'm going to pin it down. The next thing I'm going to do is that from this point that I pinned down, I'm going to go down by 5 inches, because I want it to be at least 5 inches wide. So I'm going to go down with 5 inches here, and here I'm going to be placing 5 inches as well. And I'll be joining these 2 points with a slant line. This is what I have. I'm going to go ahead and cut it out. This middle part, I left about 0.5 inches, so I'll be able to join the laces together, right? So that it's going to lie down neatly. For the sleeve part, I'm going to go in with 5 inches. Our sleeve is about 11 inches, so here I'll be cutting about 14 inches, adding 3 inches extra allowance. If it's too much, I'll cut it out when I'm done fixing it. I'm also going to trim out this shoulder part so that it's lying nicely. Okay, so this is everything that we'll be cutting out for this tutorial. Now we are going to go ahead and start stitching. And for our stitching, the first thing I'm going to do is to join these 2 points together. Okay, I'm going to join it with that 1/2 inch that I added here. I'm going to join it together so that it opens up this way. So after joining it, this is what I have. You see, it's now one straight pieces. I'm going to open up my fabric, and I will be placing this right in the middle. Okay, so we have this line in the middle here. I'm going to place, now that I've placed it, I'm going to pin it down, and then this ends, I'm going to fold it a little bit with about 1/4 inch, not plenty, just 1/4 inch, and I'll be sewing round this point, from this point to this point. The next thing I'll be doing is to turn the neckline of the front pieces. And for the neckline of these front pieces, I'm just going to place these pieces that we cut out as the facing on the neckline, right side facing each other. Okay, and I'll flip it over to the fabric side like this. So I'm going to place right side facing each other like so, and I will stitch with about 1/2 inch round the neckline, and I'll be turning it over to the right side. After stitching this point, I'm going to flip it. I'm going to flip it over like so and iron it, and that's all for the neckline. After fixing the neck, this is what it looks like. This is what it looks like. You see how it's neatly done. I'm going to fold this back again. Okay, I'm just going to notch this point that I marked earlier for my pocket. So now that I've notched it, I'm going to open it up, and I'm going to fix my pocket. And to fix my pocket, this is what we have here. I'm going to pick up my pocket pieces. I'll place it right side facing each other. On this point that I notched, I'm going to come up with at least 1/2 inch. I'll be marking it so you see what I'm doing. So this point, this is where I notched. I'll come up with at least 1/2 inch. Okay, and this point again that is notched, I'll come in with about 1/2 inch, and I'll be stitching along this point with 1 inch. Okay, because our stitching allowance that we added when we were cutting was 1 inch, so I'm just going to stitch this way. Okay, and I will trim out this excess, and whatever I do for this part, I will do it for this other side of the dress. So after stitching along this line, I'm going to cut very close to the lines that I stitched. Okay, I'm just going to cut it very close to the lines. Now that I'm done cutting, this is what I have. I'm going to go ahead and close up these ends. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close up these ends, and after closing it up, I'll be flipping it to the back. So now we have my pocket here. After fixing the pocket for the second side, this is what I have. You see how it's looking, and that's all for these front pieces. I'm going to keep it aside and work on the back piece. For the back piece is quite straightforward. The first thing I'm going to do is to fold it into two, and I'm going to cut out the facing for this back piece. Just like we did for the front, I'll fold the fabric that I'll be using to cut the facing into two and place it right under the fabric and trace out the neckline. The next thing I'm going to do is that I'm going to measure from this top. We use 24 inches as our hip point, so I'm just going to mark and stop at 25 inches, right? Okay, now what I'm going to do is that this midpoint, I'm going to open it all the way down to the 25 inches mark. This is where I'll be fixing our zipper. To fix the zipper, we're going to open it up to the right part. This is the front side of this fabric. I'm going to take my 24 inches zipper, okay, and I'll be opening it up like so, right? I'll be placing this way, and this one I'll place it this way, okay, almost not taking out any allowance at all. And I'll be stitching along this point very close to the teeth of the zip. Okay, so I'm just going to place it this way, and I will stitch very close to the teeth of the zip till I get to the end of the zip. I'll do it for both sides. So after stitching down around the zipper area, you see how neat it's looking. The next thing I'm going to do is to use the facing pieces that we cut out to turn the neckline. Okay, so I'm going to place it on the neckline, and I'm going to stitch. This is the facing pieces and this is the main fabric. I'm going to stitch about 1/2 inch around this point, and I'm going to close up this zipper area as well, and then I'll notch it and turn it over to the right side. I'll be doing the same thing for this part of the dress as well. Place my facing, stitch around this side and along the zipper area, and I'll be turning it over. After joining the shoulder, this is what we have. This is what it's looking like, right? This is where the joining is. The next thing I'm going to do is to hem this point. I made a mistake when I was cutting it, and I cut out the pieces that I'm supposed to use and hem it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold it in by maybe 1/4 inch and then fold it twice, and I'm just going to stitch along this point. After hemming this part, the next thing I'm going to be doing is to place my lace. Okay, so I did cut out these pieces from my lace, and I kind of used the details on the cord lace to draft this part out. So I want this to be in the middle like this. So I'm just going to place it towards the hem like this. I'm just going to fold this side in with about 1/2 inch, and I will stitch across to this point, and I'll be doing the same thing for this side. Okay guys, after attaching this to the sides of the sleeve, The next thing I'm going to do is to place front side on the back side, right side facing each other. Now I'm going to go ahead and stitch close this point. So remember that when we were cutting it, I added 1 inch seam allowance. So I'm going to go ahead and stitch with 1 inch all the way to this point, right? I'm going to stitch with 1 inch all the way to this point. And when I get here, I'm going to open up this part and iron it down. I'm going to open up this part and iron it down like this, so that there's going to be side slits on this side of the dress. I will be doing the same thing for this side. I'm going to be taking out my seam allowance, which is 1 inch, and I will stitch all the way to this point, where I notched. Okay, and from this point I will open it up and have my slit all the way. After shaping the sides, this is what we have. Okay, this is what the top is looking like, and this is what the sides are looking like. You see, it's neatly done. This is where the pocket is. Okay, this is where the pocket is, and this is the slit that is by the side. So the next thing I'm going to do is to fold in the 2 inches that I added for the hemming allowance. I decided to add this drop into this point, okay, so that it gives it a different design. So I'm going to stitch this dropping to this point, and that will be all for this tutorial. Hope this tutorial was helpful. If it was, let me know in the comment section. If you also have any questions, also let me know in the comment sections, and I'll be answering your questions. And subscribe if you're yet to subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.